crayfish factory is just it's a long peninsula just sticking out, jutting out far, way out further than the rest of the coastline, just collecting all the swells. Just the swells just pumping out of the roaring 40s. The Cape of Storms has always been a feared place. The crayfish factory, it's just collects all of that power.
And that's where I've sharpened my big wave skills. That's the wave that you want to train for big waves, and the factory's the spot. The factory's the kind of wave you can take off like on a 15-footer and have the most hectic drop, do the most heavy bottom turn, and then get the heaviest barrel of your life, and still come out and do a big carve on the wave. It's like all four elements of surfing in one wave,
Cassiem Collier, it's an absolute pleasure to be able to sit down here in Muizenberg with you.
Thank you very much.
But I've been looking forward to this conversation because to describe you as a part of the furniture in the Cape Town surfing community is probably somewhat of a little bit of an understatement. I'll introduce you as Cassiem Collier, Cass Collier, known to a lot of the people in the community. Big wave world champ in 1999, Todos Santos. I remember that as a young man, and how you represented South Africa so finely in that event, and 3 times Western Province champ.
Yeah, quadruple Western Province champ now. I'm still competing.
There we go.
As my age division, I'm maturing with age.
There we go. Wonderful to see. So young men, take a leaf out of this gentleman's book. 53 and still competing and loving life.
Yeah, for sure.
This little discussion is about not just where you are today, because I think it's very important that we chat about that, but it's also helping the international community understand who Cass Collier was as a young man growing up.
Well, thank you for having me. I think surfing in the ocean is a journey. It doesn't change. It's forever, I think surfers, the ocean keeps them alive, and keeps them young, and keeps them and matures them also, and my journey is still going, and I'm just happy to be part of the sport and to be able to go in the ocean and to do it. Because at the end of the day, it just takes the doing. For me, that's the blessing, is that, I'm 53 now, but I don't feel, age just become a number, because the ocean it's that everybody needs, where we can, we don't have to come with any issues or any problems or any thought of anything,
Yeah.
We just go in the ocean, and the ocean kind of takes care of us. So that's my kind of, where I am right now. So that I've realized, like as a surf coach, as a father, grandfather, so much more things in life, is that still it's the ocean, and it's the love of the ocean, and that's, I think, what surfers globally, how we connect, is that it is surfing, and it's the way we ride the wave, and it's the battle, and it's the bigger wave, and it's always that pursuit. But at the end of the day, when there aren't any waves and there's a lull, and it's just us out there in the ocean when waiting for waves, and I think that's that weight. I think that's where the essence of it all lays, and for me, I started very young.
How old were you?
Well, I grew up in a surfing family. My dad, Ahmed Collier, he loved surfing. He had a dream of being good and just to be able to ride the wave the way he saw the professional surfers ride the waves, and that's the time, I think, when Sean Thompson and that crew of surfers started to change how you approach powerful waves, because us as surfers on the kind of like not in the picture. We were not allowed in the picture of surfing. So we could only see the powerful aspect of it, of just riding bigger waves and just feeling that kind of energy of the ocean. We weren't into the trickery of surfing yet, because that was like as how the development of surfing is. You first have to like absorb the ocean. Once you master the ocean, then you can go in and go play in the ocean. We often say we play around in the ocean, you know, but it's quite something to say you go play in the ocean. You have to be quite a powerful person to be able to play in the ocean, you know.
You've got to have aligned yourself and connected.
Exactly. Like we said earlier, all sports people, for me, as a professional surfer, growing up as a surfer, being coached by my dad, who was a very serious coach because he coached the swimming club, and we were always marginalized because there was a white swimming association, then there was the other swimming association that we had to belong to. Then there was in the surfing, it was the same thing. In the school, it was the same thing.
Yes.
In every aspect of life, it was that. There was the one and there was the other. And the other wasn't good enough. It was never good enough, the other. But the other was all we had.
So just to put this into context, this is during the apartheid era, where the beaches specifically around South Africa were segregated
Yes.
and divided and
Forcefully.
correct.
And forcibly. In other words, if you arrived at that location, it wasn't just a sign. You're gonna feel you were gonna feel that apartheid monster come down on you. You know, a lot of people refer to apartheid and that, but did they feel the apartheid monster, or were they on the other side of it? Because remember, I referred to two different
yes,
organizations always.
yeah,
The one always felt the monster of apartheid, and did the other? I don't know. As far as I know, they didn't, because whenever I was there socializing or participating in the sport of surfing within their aspect, it wasn't there. It was actually like complementing the whole scenario.
Yeah.
In other words, the people that enforced that here were there, like the masters of the sport. But in the other side, they were forcibly doing things. Wasn't nice, you know what I mean? It was violent. So that's how we grew up, and that's why, in a sense, when you refer to the past, some people might say, "Oh, okay, so you're still hopping on the past." It's not like you could also hop on your past, and you could also say, "Yo, I grew up in Komaki, I grew up in Durban, and hop on it." But because you're gonna feel that you're in an advantage, you're gonna stop hopping, because you know what I mean. You're gonna be told, "Listen, bro, we don't want to hear about that all this
Anymore.
People are talking about something different."
Yes.
So suffering and the celebration is two totally different things. So we have a young, back to the subject of surfing. The development of surfing has come to Africa, and it's developed. It's in the process of flowering, beautiful athletes,
yeah,
and it's beautiful because that's the transformation of surfing. But that transformation was very hard. It took like a long time of certain people accepting that, like, we're going to share this ocean together.
yeah,
And the other side of it, of scared people coming and participating in the ocean, of what they were told and forced to believe that it's not for you even, you know what I mean? Your culture doesn't, there was always something that black people don't like the ocean, or black people. When I heard stuff like that, I was just like, man, kids love the ocean. How on earth can you say that black people don't love the ocean? That's why they don't surf, and that's why they're scared of the... No, that's impossible. All kids feel the same feelings, man. And I coach kids across the board. They love the ocean.
yeah.
And when
So when you're talking about accessibility now,
Yes.
because in the past, that's the strong link to the fact that there was this psychological barrier, is because the beach was inaccessible to a lot of
Yes.
the young communities growing up in and around South Africa.
And like that's why I use the word forcefully.
Yeah.
Because we always attempted to go, but we were met with heavy, like protection of... They were protecting something behind them, and which was, like I say, the two worlds that we live in. Now, Africa is still very divided, because we rather travel overseas than we go travel Africa. I mean, that's a known. You know, people will often say it's dangerous, it's this, it's that, overseas. So we still need to come to that experience. And again, like our coach, You know, if I have, say, let's just say I have 10 young athletes that are professional surfers, that at any given day could win an event anywhere in the country, which is a big pool of surfers to have, no matter the color, no matter where it's coming from. So these are very proud athletes that have fought their way to this position, like over years and years and years. Like in Tando, they just walked by.
Yes, yes.
You can see how fit he is, but he's been training for 6 months because he lost that fitness 6 months ago. Because of the necessary pressures of a handsome young professional surfer growing up. There's a lot of temptations all over. And you make a wrong decision here and there. But motivated him again to get super fit and to rise up again. And so sports like that, it will always do that, you know. Lewis Hamilton you'll also be naughty. You can't just win races all the time. He has to be a little naughty. It's Tiger Woods, every athlete you want to go to. It's hot and cold. It brings a good athlete forward. An athlete's not just a balanced person. Talking about super athletes.
Yeah.
If you look at Kelly Slater, for example, he's 11 times world champion. That's not normal. That shows the passion way beyond normal. After 3-4 world titles, you'd be like so exhausted.
You're right.
Never mind just the winning, you'd be exhausted from what you're putting in. So I'll say he's put more into surfing than he's taken out.
Yeah.
And although his wave pools must be astronomical figures to it, that is both like after the, you know, he did that like as a mature adult, wanting to make money. So he's put a lot into the sport, and he still competes. And yesterday he had an interview live where he said he was still nervous when he went into the heat. So I was like, oh, but it's such a innocent thing to say. You know,
vulnerable.
He's not hiding anything. You know? And what he's trying to say is that after a lifetime of competing and 11 world titles, you still get the jitters, and it's still like we all do.
Yeah.
And so we
That's the human side of the athlete.
Yeah, of the athlete. And also, when we're coaching our young students now, we can refer to that interview of yesterday. A 52-year-old, he's my age, is 53. Kelly Slater, he's going to be 53, I think.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's a 53-year-old athlete saying that after 11 world titles, you're still going to go through the nerves and that, and we don't know how to deal with it. Because he obviously knows how to deal with it. Because he's there thousands of heats, and so that I'm teaching my athletes right now. And that's why he said it after so many years, and that's what he brought to the table yesterday, live. I was watching it here. So if Kelly Slater is putting that on the table now, as such a mature person and adult and competitor and businessman, and when he's a wealthy athlete, and the longevity, right? It just shows how, like I say again, I refer to the immaturity of our surfing industry, and just also I suppose it's across the board. I'll be selfish to say just the surfing industry. I'm also to blame. You know, I'm also part of the surfing industry. So when I talk about the industry, I'm not pointing fingers.
No, sure.
I'm referring to us as a family of surfers. We need to, like, the elevation that took Tom Curran and passed on the mantle to Kelly Slater. And Kelly Slater is now has passed it on to the next generation of surfers, beautifully so. Like, you know, like honoring the guy that beat him and saying, like, you know, it was nice. It was so beautiful to hear, like a mature
Good sportsmanship.
Good sportsmanship. So he's passing that on now. But it seemed like as the development and the transformation of surfing came, that wasn't passed on in a one movement. And so, like, obviously now it's beautiful to see the diversity of the WSL Challenger Series and the diversity of the top surfers in the world at the moment. Yeah, Indonesian surfers,
Japanese
surfers, Mexican surfers,
Brazilian,
you know what I mean? Moroccan surfers. Yeah, so it's there, it's happening.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think going into the future of 5 years, you might even be saying things like, like we need more Australians and Americans in the top 60. You know what I mean? Where before maybe you had like 14 Americans and 2 Australians. So it's a beautiful.
There is a movement happening.
There's a
The shift is happening.
You know, but our super athletes in Africa and the young kids, like the Surprises and the Paul and Ventandos and Leles, and the newer generation also that's under them, elevated so fast. It's almost like what took me and my dad that took me to the beach every day, dropped me at school, picked me up. There was no time for any, he didn't allow anything to come in between that. It took me like 10 years to acquire a certain skill. These kids are acquiring it within like one year, 2 years, and they have it. So it just shows how hungry they are.
Yeah.
And how great the future is, because no matter which way you look at it.
You mentioned earlier with pride that you're a collier.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that your father used to challenge the very fact, we're going back to the segregated beaches now. My understanding is that your father led by example, and he used to challenge by going to surf a lot of the spots and being present in a lot of the beaches where you weren't supposed to have been. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my dad. He was like, he came from Durban originally, and I was born in Cape Town, and he loved the ocean. He fell in love with the oceans and the beaches around Cape Town, which was quite mesmerizing for him, And then he also learned surfing a little, I think, in Durban. And, I think Durban, because you can go onto the piers and look at it like in that context of a kingly sport. You stand on the pier and you see these guys riding waves. It's like, Cape Town, it's hard because our waves are far away and it's a different kind of, it's reefs and it's cold, But there, you get that old royal.
That Hawaiian lineage feeling.
Right, Durban. That's why I think the Durban and the Hawaiians connected in a way, because it's so much the same. The baggies, the warm water, the waves are powerful. It's a beautiful kind of like training ground, Durban. So my dad's coming out of that as in the apartheid era. I was born in 1971, going into the 70s.
Slap bang in the middle of that whole era.
In the middle of a very like violent kind of like, So he saw that and he felt that, and obviously it wasn't welcoming. I think he went a few times, but it wasn't welcoming. But because it was warm, but then he came to Cape Town, and then when he went to these beaches, he realized how cold it was immediately. So obviously the wetsuit and the bigger board and things, it's a lot harder. And so the journey, this hard journey of him and maybe just one other, I think it was him alone at first, going to Blue Waters, which was the only beach we could go to, and 9 miles, because Muizenberg was whites only. And all the other beaches that had surfers were whites only. And just the thought of going there, which was almost like crazy. So when you rewinded me now to that, and my dad, and the militant aspect of him taking on the whites only beaches and the signs that were up, and force. That's why again I use the word force, because it was violence. Like I saw my dad get attacked and beaten, and he had to defend himself. And a lot of people would say to me, but your dad, like, you to fight, he just wanted to fight.
Those yellow police vans with the cages on the side.
Exactly. But before that, more the surfers, that thought they had to enforce these laws, because like I say, a lot of surfers were policemen also, and detectives, and you know what I mean? They can't take, we can't, you can't just say, no, in the sport of surfing, there wasn't any people that enforced apartheid laws.
There was.
So even if it's now that you could still say they're racist surfers, imagine in 1960, we're talking about in 1970. So that, I hated it when I was a young kid growing up. I wanted to go to the beach. I'd rather want to go to Blue Waters, and I used to cry and said, no, let's just stay by Blue Waters in 9 miles, please, because it's going to turn violent. And then my mom, and it always did, like arrested, like mad. But like I say, my dad was psycho.
So would it start out in the water?
Yes. It had to, because they have to phone the police. Someone has to phone the police firstly. And there was no cell phones. So someone's got to go home. Or someone's got to go and say to someone, listen, go phone the police. Like, Ahmed is here. It's only my dad. Now, there were other surfers. And they would say to my dad, when my dad would say, come, we're going to go to Long Beach today. They'd say, Ahmed, we're not going to go with you anymore. Because you're going to go, they're going to tell you to go in, and you're going to tell the people to fuck off. And then they're going to fucking fight with us again. And the cops is going to arrest us again. So he was alone. And then he started to go alone. And then, it was only, like, to be honest with you, there was a few surfers like today that's still around that were friendly. I mean, I'm not trying to say there weren't any good people, but like I could remember Teach 4 when I was still young surfing, saying to my dad at Long Beach, who was watching me like a bloody, couldn't take his eye off me because anything could happen.
Sure.
Serious. So now Teach would come and say, oh, Cass was ripping this morning. I was watching him and he's surfing so good and he was
Encouraging words.
yeah, like, you know, and so Teach always had a positive, and when he was in the water, there was always a positive vibe. He would maybe say to one of the guys, was like, listen, leave him. His dad, don't let his dad see you do this. If he must tell his dad you're doing this, his dad will fucking paddle with his clothes in here and attack you. So it was like that. It was very, and I mean, I didn't want to hear stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because for me, there's enough trauma in the ghetto where we grew up.
Yeah.
That's another world. That's a world where, like, to be honest with you, only Ian Armstrong ever came to my house. No other surfer that I grew up with and I knew, and I know a lot. I know the whole surfing family of South Africa. They can never ever say they came into my community, to my house. Because I stay in Lotus River. And as far as they're concerned, when they look on Google Maps, it's a no-go zone. So we can't have people working for you, like people have what they call maids working for them for like 10, 20 years, and they're never taking them home. They just drop them by the station or whatever, give them money to say, okay, go to Khayelitsha now. While they know it's the most dangerous place in the whole of South Africa, the murder capital of the world. But they're quite happy for their people to come live there. But they've never gone and seen how they live, where they live, dropped them, picked them up. They
Understood them.
So that's the lower, man. A lower is not a surfing thing. Like, a lower means the person. You know, a lower means like family. So that's why surfing it's at the crux and at the royalness of it. You know, to say that only the royalty, like only the true people should be allowed. Because if you're not, then you're gonna go out there and fight. And you're going to say, this is your spot. You were local here and you don't like it now that you and your 3 friends came here now. Like, now we're 5 guys in the water. You know what I mean? Things like that. And that's the way people want to see localism.
Yeah.
Hawaiian, when Pipe's cooking, there's 100 guys out. You know, there's 100 surfers out. It's not a joke. And of that 170 are professionals. The other 40 want to be those professionals. And there's another 20 that shouldn't be there. And there's 20 boogie boarders also. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. So there's that thing. We're not about 1 or 2 guys at Scarborough. And when you come, they want to say, hey, what you doing? Where you from? Where do you, hey, that's tantamount to like violence and the pure racism, the next level.
Yeah.
Because no one can ever say they're local of a wave because they live there. They have to go back to how they got there. We don't want to go there. You see, because then you're gonna start a war. You see, what you thought maybe you're gonna say, no, but I love you, bro. You're gonna start a war now.
Yeah.
You see, so that's the nature of the whole world, not just South Africa. Because remember, apartheid was law. But apartheid, it's all over the world. Just they didn't make it a law. They were clever. They just kept it under the table. Because when I went to America, when I went with Nicky Dappers and Ian Armstrong, to the Big Wave World Championship in 1999. We went via LAX and then we spent some time in San Diego. And from there we crossed over to the Mexican border, you know?
Yeah.
And when I was in San Diego and we went surfing like to different spots.
Encinitas,
Right.
Sanos, or
Right.
there.
I couldn't believe how military orientated it was on the beaches and that you couldn't park on the beaches and you must park here and walk. I'm like, huh? Like, now the military owns these beaches, and then
There's a big military base right by Oceanside.
right, so now we're walking with our surfboards. Don't have massive Casper. I'm almost like on a run like it. Because now I'm having flashbacks. This Casper comes over there and stops right there by us. I'm like, God, you're joking. I don't come to America.
To see Ahmed on.
We were myself, Mickey and Ian I now because we had to park far like it's closed. So we got our boards. Don't they pull up to say, hey, what are you doing? Where are you going? We're like, where are we going? We got surfboards in the wetsuit. What? There's surfers there. What do you mean?
We're going to the city.
Yeah, we're going surfing. Like, okay, do you know some military base? We're like, we know that's all. It's a sign.
Yes.
And you're not just stop. You can't stop and you can't. You're like, we're just going to go surf, bro. And then I said to Mickey, bro, especially South African in here, man. So,
As a joke, yeah.
yeah, man, you know what I mean?
You're expecting something else. You expect what we've seen on TV.
Yeah, the land, yeah. But you know, it, like I say, it's more like the love of the ocean now. And when I'm coaching and when I'm teaching surfing now, no matter the age, no matter the person, I've also realized like I've shifted the way I coach and the way I approach the ocean and things like that. And it's more like I try my best to make the person fall in love with the ocean. You know, everybody sees the ocean differently. You know what I mean? And some people come for healing. Like they say they want to come for surf lessons, but they're actually coming for healing.
Yeah.
Some like say I have young men that want to come. Now I ask them, okay, we said yes, I've surfed, but that's I've got a small board, but they can't even bloody paddle. You know, so a lot of people, the ocean's also a crutch that people can use, which is beautiful because the ocean's never gonna complain or say anything, you know. But if you go out into bigger waves and you're not ready, you're gonna get like smacked.
You're going to get sorted out.
Yeah,
But that's part of the learning process.
So that's how the ocean handles it, you know. For the young kids, it's a 1-2 foot wave at Muizenberg that's gonna smack him. But that's where I come in, and that's when like the parent comes and says, "Oh no, you just see what happened." And I say, "No, but that's actually where the journey is right now. He surfed a few waves and he's doing well, but he's at the infancy of his journey, and he's here at the infant wave, the baby wave, the wave that surfers don't even call a wave. Like 10 years ago, you couldn't say you were from Muizenberg. It's almost like you get laughed at.
Yes.
But now,
I remember that, yeah.
Now with pride, they say, "Now I'm from Muizenberg. I surf Muizenberg. I train at Muizenberg."
I log at Muizenberg.
It's a famous one here. Since the Vans event, everybody logs here.
It's on trend now to log.
But it's beautiful.
Yes,
Because
it's lovely. It's
where-
positive, eh?
It's where South African surfing is, you know, and
There's a vibe here. There's a good
Yes.
vibe.
Yeah, man.
And you're part of that vibe.
Of course.
But let's just go back to Todos Santos, 1999. I can't help but think, Cass, that you describe all these moments growing up and the tough conditions under which you grew up.
Yes.
Not only in your neighborhood,
Yeah.
but then you'd get to the monster at the beach,
Yeah.
and then you'd get in the ocean,
Yeah.
which also had a few lessons
Yeah,
to
no,
teach
of
you.
course.
Okay, and now you combine that into one big ball of energy.
Yes.
There's got to be a moment in 1999 when you're sitting out there at Todos, when all that came together
Yes. For sure.
in one positive,
Yeah.
powerful injection of energy.
Well, you know, the
Describe that
yeah.
day for me.
Well, we were the first transformed team where Ian was this other competitor and I was the other competitor. So in other words, there were two of us in this team. And he's a white boy from St. James. I'm a brown boy from Grassy Park. So it was a perfect makeup of the new dispensation of how teams should go forward. We were the first international team, like, because it was 1999, it was the whole
Yes,
time.
just
of
after that
transformation.
transformation.
So yeah, we were,
Rainbow Nation.
yeah, like we were almost like the perfect Rainbow Nation team. So we went forward. We were also like the last seed of the event because we weren't in the event the year before.
Okay.
Because at the time, the SSA president felt that South Africa wasn't ready to enter a team of two surfers. And by that time, myself and Ian were already on the map of big wave surfing.
Yeah.
So we would have
You
been
were
ready.
surfing
But-
dungeons, this whole
but
coast-
we were glad that we were excluded in the sense that we weren't ready like we were the next year. But we didn't have a seeding for that, so we were like the 12th seed of the event. And yeah, so we trained hard for it, okay? And I think that was the beautiful part of it, was that myself and Ian Armstrong had already met and formed quite a formidable team of two surfers arriving anywhere in surf mode, train mode. We never went out to go fight, and we never went out to go take on any surfers anywhere or anything. The ocean taught us about respect. I think when you grow up surfing comedy and that kind of ways we surf, respect is tantamount, because if you don't respect the ocean and what it can do to you, then you can lose your life quite quickly. The kind of conditions that we grew up in. We were two young men growing up in a turbulent kind of Cape Town, South Africa, transforming into something beautiful, but still on the cusp of no one knew where it was going. and we were Rasta, and that I become a Rasta at 19. It changed my whole life. It affected my whole relationship with my family, which was very close. And they felt that this was like a massive blow to their support in what they did. It can be almost like changing my religion.
Their expectations of you.
Yes, and because remember, my name's Cassiem Collier. I'm Muslim. I was born into a Muslim family. My dad wasn't religious in a sense of how you view the religion, but he was a very spirited person, and he loved his religion, and his where he was. He felt it was the perfect place where he was in Cape Town. So I also had that, you know what I mean? He passed on that to me also of believing in what you believe in. That's why when I learned about Rasta, it took over my life, because of my dad's teachings, So obviously we went our different ways, which I also thought was good for my journey, And then I met Ian Armstrong, who I always admired as a surfer at Corporate Reef as a young surfer. Always like the best out there. Could never even greet. We couldn't even greet. We would just like surf against each other without even greeting. But there was no disrespect, but there was also no respect, because that was what Apartheid South Africa did to us. It made us be acquaintance of people, but there was a lack of respect at certain times, and then when we finally met, it was like a relationship just happened, because I had a view of him in the water. I think I've tried to greet him once or twice and he never greeted, Then I thought, the back of my mind, I was like all these negative thoughts, Thought always runs away with you, So I had a makeup of him. And then when I met him, I found out it's definitely not that, And
So your perception was completely flipped on its head.
Flipped on its head, correct. And we immediately kind of like became good friends, because I think it was the love of the ocean again. That's why I think surfers don't know where their friend kind of makeup comes from. You don't realize it's actually the ocean that brings those pool of friendship. That's why we call it a pool, Yes, to do with the ocean and water, That's why surfers are so blessed, and so they remain friends for so long, and it's such a honorable thing.
Yeah, they're connected through water.
Love of the ocean, yeah. So myself and Ian became very good friends, and I met his wife, and we and we connected. So when big wave surfing, the limelight got shone on Cape Town in South Africa to be represented in the big wave world champs at Todos Santos in 1999, the whole surfing industry of South Africa selected myself and Ian, because there was going to be an event in Cape Town. But all the surfers, when they heard the event was going to be at Cape Town, at our spot crayfish factory, they said, hey, we don't have to go there and do that, because Cass and Ian is the head and shoulders above us already, because we had the experience and coming from Cape Town. Also, we had like legends like Pierre de Villiers, Davy Stalk, all that, those legends of big wave surfing, Simon Lowe. Oh man, I can go on and name a lot of critical surfers that like really taught us a lot in big water. We got selected to go 1999, and we trained very hard. We found out kind of like who was the toughest athlete going into that event, which was Vatia David. And then we found out what kind of training program he was on. We couldn't believe it. We were in shock. But then we added on to it. And then myself and Ian, we didn't go to gym or anything. We trained like in Komaki on the mountain and in the ocean, but on a serious level. And so we realized through the training how fast we just...
Did you walk, run?
We ran on the mountain like every morning, every evening.
In the fynbos?
Up where when you go to Long, which is that church up top there, we park there by the church, and then we run up to that top of that mountain. Then there we do our physical routine, which we had, which was a better routine than the top athletes were doing. And we were already fit, very fit, but now we became super fit. We also trained for a bit at the Sports Science Institute, which was great. And they also gave us a lot of positive encouragement to say how fit we really were, to measure the fitness. So we thought, wow, okay, we're like super fit. But we were humble at the time. It wasn't, that time the industry, big wave surfing wasn't on the map really. And then we went over there, and they undermined us, like all the teams, all the athletes, because we didn't fit Ian was like beard was like this and his hair was all...
I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah, we didn't fit the description.
Yeah.
The morning of the event when it started, I can recall I had Taylor Knox in my first seat and I beat him, you know.
I was going to say, I used to have a poster of Taylor.
Yes, on the
No Fear one.
On the $50,000 wave.
Yes, that's it.
Anyway, so I drew him in the heat. So that was like, everybody was like, oh, everybody came to watch him. And then I beat him and I won that heat. And then they kind of realized, and then Ian also had a couple of good heats and I had another good heat. And then they realized, whoa, these guys are like, wait, they're winning, you know? And so, anyway, like I say, they undermined us as a team, and we came home with the gold medal, you know. And when I sat, you know, you refer to that of the 1999 and the moment actually came afterwards. The moment came when I sat in that hotel room as the world champion with my gold medal and all those international people wanting to talk and and I thought to myself, oh, you know, I grew up across the pond where like surfing is not even on the map, even today. You know, it's like 30 years later, it's still not on the map. There's still not a surf shop there or skate shop there or anything like that. But there's thousands of kids that participate in the sport. But there isn't any ownership. That's why I bring the point of the surf industry, how immature we are as industry bearers. You know, because I mean, I don't own a shop, but I work very closely with lifestyle.
Yeah.
And lifestyle for us, as surfers coming out of the development of that flower of transformation, we need a base and we need identity, and we also need to belong to a surf club, and we need to belong to so lifestyle offers the surfers that, where they offer, because the ownership is with real surfers, you know. Kitch and Craig go surf, Craig's kids surf.
Yeah, they know we need somewhere to store a board or hire a wetsuit.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And because the industry, we don't have that. Like, I would love to have, I mean, you know what I mean? If I had ownership like that, then obviously all my young kids that have come through my hands will be coming to me and saying, Cass, I need a board, I need to see how to go.
Go.
And so that's what it's about, you know. And like, I respect what all the surfers, because I compete on the Grand Kahuna level, on the Western Province level, and on the South African. I just won the Vic Bay quite a few weeks ago in that age group.
Congrats.
And it's honorable to see these young men and these
coming through.
Older men, not young anymore.
Yeah.
Older men and older women and all these beautiful people.
Still there.
Love the ocean so much. And the ocean has done so much for them within their health, so that they can still come out. Remember, it's not me ripping the wave, or it's not me doing this. It's all these elements that have transpired
that led you to that moment,
including that wave and that ocean and the nature that's also transpiring with us to allow us to do it. Remember when you go out and you can't get a wave, you're just like, because the whole thing is you're either in a rush or something's not right. You're not allowing the ocean to be in control here. You want to be in control of the ocean. Don't get the waves. So I've learned as I go out now when I surf, they always come to me afterwards and say, yo, you got like all the good waves. How did you? It's not there. There's no good waves. I just got waves. I made it. The goodness came when the wave and I made it good. I couldn't make it good by myself. The global surfing community looks at African surfers coming out. If you take it, for example, let's use Mikey February as an example.
Yeah.
M-Feb. The world knows who M-Feb is. He's an artist, you know. He admitted that he was on tour. It wasn't for him. And he followed many surfers' path of becoming a free surfer. But there's more to it than that, you know. People must realize Mikey February is like, he's got so much in him because he's quiet and he's a soft-spoken person. And that's just how his nature is. But within that nature, he's an animal in the water. You know what I mean? And he can do stuff in bigger waves that not many people can do.
It's like you say, Tommy Curran used to be very similar. Let your surfing do the talking.
Exactly, you know. But I would love to, because I mean, I'm close with Isaac. And I mean, I coached Mikey also when he was younger. And it was a beautiful time. And eventually I had to say to him, Mikey, just like I had to say to Paul Chow, Sanson, like, this journey, it's taking you. And you have to go now. And that's the nature of a professional surfer and a young athlete. they must also realize that this journey is going to take them, like the ocean. Today it's 1 foot Muizenberg, tomorrow it could be 25 foot One Meter Bay.
Yeah, your wave is, here's your wave.
Yeah,
Take it.
And if we're invited to surf it, you can't say, no, sorry, I'm turned down the invite of the eddy.
Yeah.
They're not going to invite you if they don't think you're ready, firstly.
Yeah.
And also you can't turn it down. It's like turning down the royalty of surfing. So big wave surfing comes into play, and I'm a big wave world champion. And I often get asked the question within my community, not surfing community, but within my community, family community, community in the ghetto, within the Cape Flats. Cass, where's the next big wave surfer? The young girls and young boys, how they now grow together in South Africa, because I think for Matt McGilvray and Geordie to be first and second a few events ago, it shows you the level of where South African surfing is. Like, we're on top of the world. Because I mean, first and second in an event, and Geordie's number 1 in the world at the moment, and Matt's not doing too badly either. To show you that surfing is quite, so we're there, you know. But it's Matt McGilvray and Geordie, you know. It's not Matt McGilvray and Paul, you know, because then it's going to be, like I say, it's like referring to myself, Ian and Cass in 1999 represented.
True reflection.
It's a true reflection. So the reflection is still one-sided, but it's a beautiful reflection. And I mean, I'm not taking anything away from that, but I must bring it to the attention that the reflection's one-sided. So only the Matt McGilvrays and the Geordies can truly be inspired. The others are all inspired. I'm inspired. Every kid's inspired. But the true essence of the inspiration, it's not because a mother's going to look at it and see 2 white boys and look at a black kid and go like, well, like, oh, you're dreaming. You know, so we must make the dream a reality. And so that's the nature of the industry now. Industry needs to put black surfers, young black kids, young black girls on their posters, because there's been 30 to 40 to 50 years of the young white kids on the posters. So we must create a balance. And that balance can only be created like that. It's like you climb the mountain for 20 years, and now someone else needs to climb. The guy must hang 10, and so the next guy has to climb. You can't climb it in 10 years, because that guy took 20 years to climb that mountain. He can also take 20 years. You can have to wait. And so that's the challenge right now. Young kids don't want to wait. Young kids want to move.
Yeah.
Luckily, we got surprises. We got Paul Chow Sampsons. We got Ntandos. We got Leles.
Jose.
We got Jose's that are out of they're like out of their skin, because they have to like rise up into the next level that they were not been prepared for. But the talent and the essence of who they are, man, and the sharing of the industry is part of that picture.
That we're talking about now, a lot of these young surfers also come from very disadvantaged backgrounds, extremely disadvantaged.
Of course.
And the hunger is that comes with
Multiplied.
it's multiplied by 100.
Yes,
and one has to.
Yes, but the industry players and those kids play a massive part in it also, because we can't blame the kids, firstly. You know what I mean? We have to take responsibility for how our kids behave. You know what I mean? No matter what. If the school phones me now to say, my daughter, I have to face it and go, and I can't sit and pretend. I'm going to have to say, listen, guys, I got a disciplinary there. My son is we naughty at school. And that's everybody's journey. But some people are good at hiding it and pretending and things like that. You know, things explode into the future of life, you know. So we have beautiful role models, man. And we have beautiful kids, and we have beautiful surfers in general. You know, they don't see color anymore.
Yeah.
When we talk about it, they almost like, oh man, here's Cassiem, he's talking again about. But it's beautiful that they don't see it, you know. And I think, yeah, I think the next 10 years of surfing for South Africa is really beautiful. There's going to be great friendships and great relationships and marriages, you know. So the ocean marries you, you know what I mean? So all in the ocean. On my way here, I was just thinking about something. In the ocean, there's no racism. There's no sexism. There's no strength. There's no weakness. There's nothing, you know. There's the ocean, the fluidness and the flowingness of the ocean. And so we all go in and we all ride waves a different way, you know. But in essence, the ocean it can be flat also. I mean, the ocean could go flat for like 3-4 days across the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Surfers would just have to absorb. And a surfer might think like after 2 or 3 days, like, yo, I really need to go surf. But Christ fasted for 40 days, he didn't eat. So I mean, if someone cannot eat for 40 days and for 40 nights, and surely we can go without surfing for 40 days. You know what I'm trying to say? So we as surfers also, we need to be humble and we need to share this beauty and this who we are. You know, who we are as surfers, we can be above and rise above the petty prejudice of the world just because we spend a lot of time in the ocean. And what I've mentioned, those things, those are petty prejudices that can't exist in the ocean, because in bigger waves we've realized that if you're not ready, don't come, because I can't look after you. That's why I can't coach in bigger waves, because when the swell gets over 10 foot, I need to protect myself, and I can never be there for you. So if I'm going to take a group of young kids out into crayfish factory, could very easily lose a life, and then the parent would want be locked up. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's that also where
And to deal with, yeah.
yeah, because surfers go in the ocean every day, but they come out. And that's why a lot of people look at us and think like myself and Ian going out into like 25-foot crayfish factory. People that don't surf or watching these waves, there's no one out. We're suiting up. They come to us, they say, excuse me, where are you guys going? We're like, no, we're going to go surf those waves now. And then the emotion of the person is like, sometimes the ladies they start crying and say, no, what, you can't, because there's no one out there in the ocean. It's almost like Judgment Day. And so for us, it's like beautiful. And this is what we went to bed dreaming, that the swell would jack up, and you know what I mean? Because we're competing in bigger ways, and competitors and the people that selected us asked us the question of, Cass, if it's 30 foot, the contest will run. You can't say no, but you're not going to surf. So when we went home, myself and Ian and his wife and it's trauma, because Lee had to accept the fact that Ian's going to go out no matter what. And I mean, it's life and death. So when we go out in the ocean and when we teach a young 5-year-old to surf, and he's coming from a school that's got no surfing in its heritage, we're bringing that also, that moment of where myself and Ian went and jumped off and went and brought back a gold medal because of that. Because there was no boundary that we put. And it was because of the industry support and the parent support and the big wave surfers. Everybody had to support that. No way myself and Ian could have did that by ourselves. And Red Bull came on board, O'Neill came on board, our surfboards, Errol Hickman's, and our Jeff Bushman's out of Hawaii. We got Jeff Bushman's out of Hawaii.
Oh, really? Our Bushman?
Yes, and he shaped it for us. And when it arrived, even Taylor Knox wanted to know, hey, whose boards are those? And we said, oh, that's South African board. And then he sketched his head thinking, why would they order such big boards? But he didn't realize we were surfing big waves, you know? So I think the African surfers and the future of Africa is great, because in 1999, myself and Ian went over and won a world title, and we were relatively unprepared. I think if we prepare the young athletes of today, and they have a few years to
Get ready.
I think it's going to be a beautiful
Sound.
Yeah.
I think that it would be fitting to end this conversation with one beautiful strapline that I read, and it kind of sums up everything about your journey and about how in 1999 you got there and you were undermined. People probably didn't think, the other surfers even didn't think you were going to feature.
to make the paddle out.
And then you weave that whole metaphor in with the change in South Africa.
Yes.
And the acceptance and the balance that we talk about and the inclusivity that we want to encourage moving forward. There's one line that kind of sums all of that up, and that is, we are all equal before a wave.
Yes, exactly.
We're all equal.
And that's like I said this morning, was my realization that in the ocean, we're all the same.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's what wave.
That wave doesn't look at us and go, oh, you from Rasta Park.
Oh.
Yeah. No, we're equal before the wave.
The wave has a communication within, and that it's personal with every surfer, with everybody that goes in the ocean. They can communicate with the ocean. The ocean, it's that space that they talk about, even that outer space that they talk about. It's the ocean space, you know. So, like, everybody should go in the ocean, and you know, that's why we love just to go and put our feet in the ocean, take a walk.
And apply that mantra into your life and the way in which you treat people.
Awesome.
Where do you see South African surfing in 10 years from now, and how do we get there?
Well, I think we're on the right path for sure, you know. Yeah, there's definitely a change within the Western Province aspect of surfing. When you go to the events, you go to the SA Champs, you can see the transformation of surfing. It's beautiful. And yeah, it's a good trajectory in a sense of you can see friendships have been formed. Whereas I think in my generation, yeah, I connected like with surfers like Shane Thorne, who said to me after we surfed at Dairy, and we had kind of like, we didn't really know each other too well, but then he said to me, "Where are you staying?" And I said, "No, I'm staying like in Sydenham with my family." So he said, "Well, it's like far away and stuff, like, you know, I stay like opposite the beach. So I can ask my mom could stay there because we kind of like surfed a few heats together." And then he was into training, and he was like, "Yo, can we not, like, you know, we can train together?" So a friendship got formed, you know, and it was quite rare at that time. But now there's all these beautiful friendships getting formed, you know, and I think that's important, where the surfers of my generation, our generation, they have kids now and that are in the industry. And it's how they have brought up their kids and what they've taught their kids in the water and out of the water. You know, that's now going to kind of set the guideline for the future.
I know we've just scratched the surface of the iceberg, so I think that maybe in the future we can have another conversation.
Yeah.
But you know, I just want to say thank you very much for making time to come and have a chat. For me personally, I've known you for a very long time just from watching you and growing up as a Grom surfing. There's not a South African young surfer of our generation that doesn't know and doesn't appreciate what you've done for the South African surfing community. So on behalf of, and I think I speak on behalf of everybody in the surfing community in South Africa, thank you for your service, and thank you for the positive energy that you've brought to the community and continue to do so. And I just want to say thank you for taking time out to come and have a chat with me.
Yeah.
Irie, brother, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.